Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Faculty of Education and welcome to Hong Kong U. I'll do the same as Steve, and just to make sure that everybody can see me here. This is a very exciting time. I was here this morning listening to the presentation from other institutions, as well as, of course, from our own institutions. And it is amazing how heads are put together to look at the ways in which we could try to help students learn. And I would say that this is unprecedented across the total, not only in this university, but across the entire sector here. And Nancy was telling me that in the audience, it's not just people from universities. We have participants from schools, secondary schools, and primary schools, saying, I've got a room, what should I do with it? Do you have any suggestions? And come to think of it, it's a bit surprising that the physical environment never really came into the equation. But the physical environment is so important. I mean, if you think of the settings which is prevalent in schools and universities, it's like this. And if you look at some of the paintings in the 16th, 17th century, they're exactly like this. How is it that we never thought about the impact of the physical environment on learning until now? And now you actually see a whole wave across the globe that everybody is asking that question. And everybody is redesigning the physical environment to facilitate student learning. And I guess that has got a lot to do with the challenges that globalization has posed to every single nation. And that is the changes are so rapid. How can we equip our students to deal with these changes? So there's a lot of that kind of discussion, soul searching going on. And I have not been to as many conferences and symposiums that were where you had really the vice-chancellors and the Pro-Vice-Chancellor sitting down, because usually, it's the teachers who sit down to talk about these things, Vice-Chancellors talk about raising money, for the university. But no, they sit down and talk about teaching and learning and the importance of the quality of teaching and learning. And that's really great. Steve just now talked about the partnership there. And in the context of this university, and I'm sure in other universities as well, it is the first time in the history of this university where you find a state's office, the library, what we used to call the computer center, academic staff sitting down and say, how should we redesign the classrooms and all the spaces? And really, their state's office are no longer people who will say, sorry, this is what you've got, it's too bad. It doesn't work like that anymore. It's really people saying, how can we help? What do you need? How can we help your students? And I think this kind of partnership is absolutely crucial. And this is where the vitalization of an institution lies. So I don't know if you've got a chance to see our learning commons there over lunch. And I do hope that you will get a chance to see that, because that is the outcome of a lot of effort and thinking from everybody in the university. But then, of course, the challenge that we are faced with is that we must not assume that now that we've got that environment, learning will take place. It may not take place. And this is a very familiar story. You put students together in groups and you say, do group work. Yes, they do group work individually. And they do pair work, but they do it individually. That has happened in schools. It happens in classrooms. So what is it that we need in order to ensure that students are really learning better. You know, they might, if you do a survey, they might give you very high ratings. Why? It's very comfortable. You know, we've got bean bags and you can take your drinks inside, and they will say this is a very friendly environment. But does that help their learning? Does that help them to become critical thinkers? Do they improve in their collaboration skills? And this is something that I was talking to Tony, who gave a presentation this morning about. That is, we mustn't be complacent about what we have achieved. We must conduct research on how students are working in that environment. I was reading an article from an architect, Peter Lipman, and that is collected in the OECD publications. And he said that people were talking about whether learners should adapt to the environment, or whether the environment should adapt to the learners. And he said that's probably a wrong question to ask, because the interaction between the learner and the environment is absolutely crucial. The environment can shape the learner, but we mustn't forget that the learners can also shape the environment. So one of the things that the research that at University of Queensland, which I listened to and I thought that was very good, was that they conducted ethnographic research on a learning commons area, where they actually observed how the students actually shifted and moved the furniture to suit their needs, and when that happened, how that happened, why that happened. And so Peter Lipman was talking about architects needing to conduct this kind of research by interviewing the users, by talking to them, and interviewing all other stakeholders. And he was proposing a responsive design approach. That is, the design's got to be responding immediately or quickly to the needs of the learners. Otherwise, the place then becomes dead. Okay. So I guess the challenge ahead of us would be to get into that kind of research. And if you're doing research of that kind, we would love to learn from you. And I've enjoyed tremendously the presentations this morning, and I'm sure there are a lot of other very, very interesting presentations today, and I hope that you find this symposium fruitful and interesting. Thank you.